What's up, movie crew? It is the beginning of April, which means it's time to show off everything I watched during the month of March. This time around, I managed to put in 2 TV shows. I went to the theaters, I believe 3 times, but I am going to mention a movie I watched last month just because of some recent tragic events. And then I'm going to show off everything I watched at home. Before I do that, if you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. What you normally get on this channel are movie reviews, Blu-ray Tuesday hauls, thrifting hauls, rankings for various movies, and of course, I go to the theaters multiple times a month and I give my thoughts on the latest theatrical release. Without further ado, I'm going to mention everything I watched in theaters. Alright, so this first one actually came out in February. I did watch it in February, but there was a recent passing. I saw Studio 666 from the Foo Fighters. For those that are not familiar with the band, it is fronted by Dave Grohl, the former drummer of Nirvana. And the drummer of this band, Taylor Hawkins, recently passed away at the age of 50. And it was announced an hour before the band was about to go on stage. So, I want to say, as a fan of the Foo Fighters, rest in peace to Taylor Hawkins. And to anyone in the band, my thoughts and prayers are with all of you at this time. Now let's get back into a little more positive tone. Alright. So I saw 3 movies in theaters this month. The first one was The Batman. I saw it opening night, and I gotta say, I was amazed. In fact, I enjoyed it so much, I went and saw it again the following weekend. I gotta give another shout out, I will be getting to this in a minute, but my friend Meg at Cinephiles Unite, I will have her links as a pinned comment down below, suggested that my second time around, I see The Batman in IMAX. And I gotta say, that movie delivered. The sound, everything. The best way to see that movie is in IMAX. So if you are able to, please go check it out in IMAX. And shout out to that particular theater because now I know the Regal itself does not suck, just the one near me. The second movie I saw in theaters was the A24's more recent theatrical release, X. I loved that movie. It reminded me a lot of my favorite slasher film ever, that being the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it has some grindhouse elements as well for those that are into the grindhouse type movies. And finally, I saw The Lost City with Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, and Brad Pitt. Yes, I'm aware that's a little bit out of my element on what I normally watch in theaters, but for those that don't know, this is actually a side project. My main YouTube channel is Writer434. I'm an independent author. Sandra Bullock's playing a reclusive novelist. Felt a little bit of a connection there. Great movie, definitely recommend everyone go see it. Now, time to show off everything I watched at home. Fantasia and Fantasia 2000. Now I know a lot of people will say that their favorite Disney movies are probably Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast. My favorites are 101 Dalmatians and the original Fantasia. So I thought I'd give this a watch. Still a great movie. Still love watching it. Sequel's not bad, but it's not the original. Simple as that. It Waits. One of the movies that I got when my local FYE closed down. This movie is garbage. I do not recommend you watching it. If you ever see this out in the wild, even if you see it at Dollar Tree, do not pick it up. Case 39 with Renee Zellweger, Ian McShane, Bradley Cooper, and a young Jodelle Ferdland. This movie wasn't bad. I wasn't expecting the supernatural elements. It didn't really bring that in there right away. But overall, not a bad movie. If you see it at your local Big Lots, it is definitely worth the pickup. I think I paid $3. Hoffman, my first ever Indicator release. Let me just say that the acting in this movie is great. It's one of the few times that you see Peter Sellers in a more serious role. Prior to this, he mainly did comedic roles. The story being told, though, kind of makes me a little uneasy. Basically, Peter Sellers' character blackmails a woman into going on a date with him, and the end result is she ends up dating him, which is a little weird for me. Regardless of what her personal life was like, don't blackmail someone into dating you. That's just weird. The Lincol Lawyer. I grabbed this one out of storage when I did my complete 4K collection. I will have that video as a pinned comment down below. And I remember really enjoying this movie, so I thought, you know what? It's out. I've got some time on my hands today. I'm going to watch this again. This movie still holds up, and it is probably, next to Dazed and Confused, one of my favorite Matthew McConaughey releases. He delivers in this. The Last Duel. Ridley Scott, if you ever watch this, I did not skip this in theaters because I'm one of those millennials that only care about my phone and the latest Marvel trend. Your movie was not playing in my area, and when it did, it is 3 hours long. Well-told story. Jodie Comer delivers in this. She is hands down the standout in this movie. My problem with this movie is it's nearly 3 hours long and did not need to be 3 hours long. I don't know if I will rewatch this anytime soon, but I will go back through and I am fairly certain I will be able to point out spots where they could have either made it shorter or just even took out a little bit here and there, and you could have been able to tell the same story with a 2 hour 15 to 2.5 hour movie. Zola. I watched this one back in December, I think, when I wasn't able to record a What I Watched video. So I wanted to rewatch it again so I can show this one off. This movie is hilarious. I recently went on the A24 website and bought the book. It is that good of a movie. It is funny. It is different from a lot of other movies that are out there. It is even a standout in the A24 library. It's not, for those who don't know, my favorite A24 movie is Ex Machina. This isn't quite Ex Machina, but out of the movies I have seen from A24, I'd probably say this is a top 5. Red Rocket. This movie is also weird. So it involves a 40-year-old who is a former porn star who tries to seduce a 17-year-old, yes, an underage individual, as a means of his comeback because he knows when she's turning 18. That being said, the character I just described is probably the most likable character in this movie. Take with that information as you will. The Lighthouse. This is one of the movies a lot of people kept recommending when Robert Pattinson was first announced as Batman. I was already on board having seen Cosmopolis and Good Time, but I did check this one out. I was able to get it with a slip. The acting is very good in this movie. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson are great. This movie has a whole lot of nothing going on. There are scenes on top of scenes where nothing happens. The problem I have with this was The Northman was one of my anticipated movies that I was going to see soon. Between me not being that impressed with this, I'm not a fan of The Witch. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to go see The Northman in theaters. If you want a let's watch for The Northman when it comes out, comment down below, because right now I am actually leaning towards not seeing it because I've been unimpressed with the director's previous works. Prisoners of the Ghostland. When I saw the first trailer for The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nicolas Cage, playing a fictional version of Nicolas Cage, I had to pull this one back out and rewatch it. This movie is insane. And it also made me more hyped to see The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, even though this movie and that are probably going to be nothing alike. These last few movies that Nicolas Cage has done, in my opinion, between this, Mandy, Willy's Wonderland, and Pig, are probably some of my favorites in his career. Yeah, I said that, in his career. Come at me, I'm ready for it. Catwoman Hunted. Alright, so for those that don't know, I am a huge DC Comics fan. I own all of the animated movies they've done since they started these with Superman Doomsday. And it's a steelbook. So I had to pick it up. And the director of this is one of the showrunners behind DC's hit animated series Young Justice. I wasn't that impressed with this one. It's not a bad one-time watch for anyone watching this, but unless you're a huge steelbook person, a huge DC fan, or more specifically a huge Catwoman fan, I can't say that you will love this movie. If I went into it and left it meh, I have a feeling a lot of other people will too. A Ghost Story. I got this one directly from Cinema Sickness. I picked this one up because I saw that he had it on sale. It had the slip. It was reasonably priced. I enjoyed this one. The third act is a little weird, but for the most part, this is a good movie. Definitely recommend checking it out. Adopt a Highway. For those that don't know, this is a Blumhouse production movie, and it is not horror. This was not a bad movie, and it's a short movie at 1 hour and 22 minutes. The issue I had with this movie was this is the movie I watched on March 1st. The movie I watched on February 28th was The Florida Project. Both of these movies involve someone losing their child or losing custody of their child. Watching these two back to back was a bit much for me, and I don't have kids. So if watching this and Florida Project back to back was a little too much for me on an emotional level, and I don't have kids, to anyone watching this that has kids, take with that information as you will. Daddy's Home and Daddy's Home 2. I picked this one up at Big Lots. Got this one at FYE when they announced that they were closing down. I'm going to be honest with everyone, and once again, come at me in the comments. I'm expecting it. I'm not a Will Ferrell fan. I mainly picked this one up because I had to spend a certain amount to use the coupon Big Lots gave me. And since I had the first one, I was like, you know what? I might as well get the second one. The first one, there's a lot of scenes where you kind of already know what's about to happen. Every time they build up to a joke, you know what's going to happen. And for me, that kind of took the humor out of it for me. Now, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg play really well off each other. I've got no... Alright, apologies for that. My camera was acting up. Like I said, it was a bit predictable. I do like Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. They played well off each other. The last part of this movie that takes place in the school is hilarious. This one, more of the same thing. You kind of know when the jokes are going to happen, and it doesn't deliver pretty much the same way as the first movie. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are fans of Will Ferrell. You might like these two movies. Me personally, they both had some ups and downs. They weren't bad, but I don't see myself revisiting either of these movies. The Howling. Looks great in 4K. This movie's kind of cheesy, though. I was laughing more than I probably should have. I liked the movie. It wasn't a bad movie, but horror movie. Me laughing. Can't really say too much beyond that. Young adult. I picked this one up at Dollar Tree. Not a bad movie. One of the reasons I picked it up, for those that saw at the beginning of the movie, my day job, I'm an independent author. Charlize Theron plays an author. Not bad, but there's a scene towards the end that is very, very awkward. Wikipedia even said so in the premise when I went on there to look up some of the actors and actresses that I thought looked familiar. Take with that information as you will. Satellite Girl and Milk Cow. I love anime, but let me just say that anime can be weird. And this movie definitely proves the weirdness. That right there is a talking roll of toilet paper. Now, I would like to point out that this movie, I believe, is, it's an hour and 20 minutes. So it's a decent little short watch, but it's weird. I am straight edge, and I was wondering if I was high when I was watching this. In Fabric. Picked this one up before the announcement was made that this is getting a Criterion release. However, after watching it, I don't think I will be picking up the Criterion release unless it is just loaded with special features. For starters, the movie's not bad. It's got a very weird premise, though. And the movie does overstay its welcome. It's like 2 hours and 10 minutes. I think this story could have been told with probably an hour 30, hour 45 tops. Not bad, but not something I'm going to be revisiting. The Dark Man Trilogy. The first one is good. Sam Raimi did his thing. For those who don't know, Sam Raimi was trying to direct a comic book movie long before he did Spider-Man. He was not able to get his hands on Batman or Spider-Man, his top two choices, so he went and made a character himself. First movie's good. Other two movies, just buy the first one. That's all I gotta say on that one. Satanic Panic. I got this one at Dollar Tree with a slip. I'm pretty sure this was the one that was once the Walmart exclusive because it just says Panic. I did not like this movie. So much crap happens because people were being stupid. They don't leave after being captured because one of the two people captured did not want to be seen on a moped. When your life is at stake, who gives a damn what you're leaving on? That's all I gotta say on that one. The Griddle House. This is one of the last movies Luke Perry did before he passed away. And for that, my deepest sympathies. This movie sucks. I'm pretty sure one of the actors that's playing a teenager is younger than I am, and I'm in my 30s. I could probably be a better actor than most of the people in this movie, and the story's ending is just stupid. Charisma Carpenter, Luke Perry, rest in peace to Luke Perry. I am sorry that the two of you took this movie on. Spree. This is kind of like American Psycho, but for the digital age. I don't know how I feel about this movie for a couple of different reasons. I might even do a video talking just about this one. I don't hate the movie. Joe Carey did his thing. But there's some weird stuff in this movie, and there's... Long story short, I've been in multiple sides of what's being told in this, so I'm not sure who I'm siding with. Dream a Little Dream. I did not like this movie. Sorry, but I didn't. Salt. Pretty solid action espionage movie. Angelina Jolie pulls off many different disguises, including being a dude in one of them. And this has 3 cuts of the movie. I watched the unrated director's cut. There's a theatrical release, the unrated director's cut, and the extended cut. The Cobbler. I'm not the biggest Adam Sandler fan, but this movie was really good. And seeing some of the stupid stuff that he does when he realizes that he can pretend to be someone else was hilarious. There's a scene where he dresses up, where he pretty much becomes Method Man. Method Man's one of the other actors. Goes in the bathroom. There's a person in this bathroom who's like giving you the towels because it's one of those fancy places. And then he leaves and he's Adam Sandler again. Wolfsbane. Steelbook that I got when Larry and Melissa were doing some of their Dollar Tree hunting and had this as one of the movies you could pick up. I have another Steelbook in my collection. There's that. Another Woman. This is one of 3 Woody Allen movies I watched over the last month. I've been trying to find stuff that is short in runtime, and all 3 of these are less than an hour and a half. Of the 3, this one's probably my least favorite because there were too many unlikable characters for me to get into it. Radio Days. Woody Allen narrates a story of a family that's listening to radio shows. It takes place during the Depression. And it's a pretty good movie. It's a nice little feel-good movie for anyone that wants to check it out. I'm not saying... It definitely was good. Don't get me wrong. It's just not something I'm going to be revisiting. And finally, The Purple Rose of Cairo. This is definitely my favorite of the 3 Woody Allen movies I've watched. Of everything I have watched from Woody Allen, which isn't much, I'm going to be honest, his personal life's a little weird for me, so I've kind of shied away from checking out any of his stuff. This is probably my favorite thing he's done out of the things I've seen. My second favorite being his segment in New York Stories with him, Martin Scorsese, and Francis Ford Coppola. Definitely recommend checking this one out if you can find it at your local Dollar Tree. Vampire's Kiss. For anyone who likes the more recent, crazy Nicolas Cage movies, this one's worth watching. This one's definitely one that fits in with a lot of the stuff he's been doing recently, even though this movie came out in 1989. Sunset Strip. It was one of the things they had. Given what this was presenting versus what I ended up watching, you got to go in this with different expectations. And finally, the 2 TV shows I watched during the month of March. Heels, Season 1 with Stephen Amell and Alexander Ludwig. I'm a fan of Vikings. I'm a fan of Arrow, so I wanted to check this one out. Let me just say, both of them deliver in this show. It's only 8 episodes. My only real concern I had with this is, until I started seeing all the smart devices and stuff, this felt like something that would take place during like the late 80s, early 90s, and it takes place present day. And I don't know how I feel about this being a present day setting. But it was great, and I do recommend checking it out, especially if you're a fan of either of these two, or if you're a wrestling fan. And finally, The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. Pardon the language. As a horror fan, I have become desensitized to some stuff. There are some scenes in this that scared the shit out of me. I look away for 1 second, and then I turn my head back up. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Recommend watching this. I am very much looking forward to watching The Haunting of Bly Manor. But that's everything I watched during the month of March. What have you watched? And as always, if you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. You like what you see? Leave a thumbs up. Comment down below what was on your watch list for the month of March. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you all for watching, and tune in next time.